Tia Bruja. I'm Bex Carlos. All right, this is our second attempt at recording this, so if this doesn't work, I'm sorry, y'all. I tried. I literally tried to create an episode every day, but the internet and also Mercury's retrograde did not allow it, so whatever. So today's episode, a lot of people have been asking me about the haunting situation that I've talked about a couple of times, the gentleman who died in the apartment next to mine. Well, I think that I could, give accounts and talk about it a bunch, but I always feel like someone else helps make it more accurate. I know we don't do this a whole lot. We don't have white people on the show. But for today, my friend Ian is coming on because, he lived with me and experienced some of the stuff firsthand. So, Ian, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay, So let's start at the beginning. What do you remember about this place being haunted, or what first comes to your mind? Yeah. Or I guess we should talk about the fact that you're like a big skeptic too, which is a big reason why I'm having you on the show as well.
Yeah, I tend not to believe in any of that stuff. My main experience with ghosts and stuff is in movies and stuff. So I guess in my first experience at the apartment was before I actually lived there. So, and this was November of 2017. So we had the cat that we had, or still have.
Toulouse.
He was living with you at that time. So I came over to see him. And this was his Gotham Day?
Yeah. We had gone to like Red Lobster earlier that day.
Yeah.
And didn't celebrate without him. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So we got him some treats and all that stuff. Basically just the leftovers. I get home, or get to the apartment, and he is just kind of staring at the wall and like really fixated on one spot. And there was an electrical box or a cable box or something like that shares the wall with the apartment on the other side of us. And he would start to sniff it. He would start to scratch at it. I think he meowed a couple times at the wall, but we would try to, get him to pay attention to the leftovers that we had, and he wasn't about that life. I kind of knew that something was up. It was weird because I don't think we didn't have a lot of furniture in that area, so there wasn't really a lot of, really any reason for him to be in there. So I kind of thought it was a mouse at first, maybe got into the wall and he was trying to get at it or something like that. And then come to find out that was the apartment that somebody died in.
And I want to note that at the time where we were feeding our cat the leftover Red Lobster or whatever, we were not aware that this man had passed. This was, I want to say, the Sunday before. The reason that I guess there was cause for concern and like why people finally were looking for him is he didn't show up for Thanksgiving. So that Friday, they finally came to his apartment. I personally feel like Toulouse was one of the first beings or whatever to realize he had passed. And I feel like that's why he had such a, he had a connection to it.
Yeah.
I remember at one point when he was doing all this, I picked him up. I walked him into the other room and he just sat down, ran back to the wall and just scratched at it. And yeah, something was definitely up. So yeah, maybe a week goes by. The gentleman, we find out he passed. And the smell got intense, so, we knew that something was up. Soon after that, weird stuff started happening. About a year later, you moved in.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your experience then?
Yeah, so after knowing that, generally, when I tend to think of supernatural or spiritual stuff like that, I think of seeing things or, hearing things or seeing stuff move or things like that. I didn't really have anything like that. It was more like a gut feeling when I moved in, and even before, between the time of the guy passing and moving in, whenever I would walk by that door or the apartment, I would kind of go on the opposite side of the hallway. And I would look at the door and I had a weird feeling about it, because knowing that somebody had died in there.
Would you say it fucked you up?
Yeah, it fucked me up big time. So that stayed with me for the most part until I left the whole place.
Taking a pause from the episode. All right, you've been listening to us talk. You know that ghosts, hauntings are not, ideal. So, if you are suffering from an unfortunate situation, you should really get in contact with Melissa at Temperance Home and Bar. Melissa, listen, I could gush about Melissa, but I'm going to be really honest. And Melissa is my person that I go to when I have a witchy thing that I cannot figure out myself and I need another perspective. One, she's attentive. Two, she truly cares. And three, she's effective. So if you are having some weird stuff happen in your house and you need a witchy friend to help get that shit out, give Melissa a call. Her information is in the show notes. She would love to find a way to help you out. Let's get back into the episode.
And that was just on our floor. Knowing all the other deaths that have happened in the building, I would, if I would have a good day at work or something like that, I would come into the building, immediately right when I unlocked the door to get into the building, I would just have all the wind knocked out of me and I wouldn't want to do anything. It really it felt like a depressive blanket kind of fell on top of me.
And I do want to touch on the fact that you said that there were other deaths because this building was built in the 20s. So obviously a lot of people had passed in it. But in the 3 years that I lived there was a gentleman who overdosed. There was an individual who was obviously in the closet, and his way of getting his, I hate to say it this way, but I guess to get his finger quote fix was he would bring unhoused men home. He would feed them. They would give them a place to shower and then basically be like, all right, so you got to put out. So this one gentleman was like, I'm not about that life, and killed him. I mean, that was 3. And now that I think about it, actually, it seems
there might have been another, because I know there were times at night when I would see the ambulance would pull out front, and it would, since we were on kind of an L shape, it would light up the whole front of the building. And you can touch. I mean, I would be standing right by the window being nosy.
You do like doing that.
Yeah, I'm a nosy bitch. But so I'm sure, and I didn't really know that many people in the building. There were a decent amount of people in the building, but I'm sure that somebody else died in there.
I don't know, man. I just always felt like there was just a really weird feeling in that apartment. I mean, there were certain places where you felt it the worst, but I don't know. I feel like Toulouse has just ruined me in the fact that there have been so many buildings in St. Louis that are haunted, and he's been just like, nope, it's a thing, because I'll feel weird, and then he basically yep, I feel it too, Mom.
Yeah.
That one was the worst though. And then it wasn't much better because we were right next to the university's surgical building, which housed the cadavers. You can talk a little bit more about that experience.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time, because they would come, I don't know how often they would come because I didn't really pay attention too much, but we'll say once a week to donate bodies. And they would come around sunup, and I would hear the truck pull up. And there was one time I remember looking out, and they were unloading a body, and it fell off the gurney. And I saw them try to heft this body bag onto the gurney again, and they were having a little difficulty with it. I mean, just knowing that there were bodies going in and out of that building like crazy, it was a little weird looking at that. I think I texted you right after that happened too, because I was like, this is a little weird. I'm a little uneasy about this, but
that whole street was it just had really bad vibes. I mean, you have the top of the street where the exorcism that inspired the movie The Exorcist happened. They tried to baptize him out the street. They did the exorcism in one of the buildings. You had the fucking building we lived in that was down the street that was super fucking haunted. You had the surgical building next to us.
Yeah, the Moolah was haunted as well.
Yeah.
The movie theater there. At least they say it was haunted.
I mean, honestly, I got vibes.
Yeah,
I got vibes.
It got creepy. But yeah, my whole thing was I would want to see something in order to have definitive proof and stuff. And I'll look at pictures and stuff, evidence and stuff online, or I guess quote unquote evidence. But I'm I don't really believe too much in that.
Would you say that this changed your perspective?
It did a little bit. Before I lived in that place, I didn't really believe in having, a building change your energy or drain your energy or things like that. Definitely now that we're in new places, it's definitely noticeable. So I'm sure the history of the building had something to do with it. The people in there have something to do with it. It's a lot to process.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Ian. I mean, I feel like in my experience, white men tend to be the biggest skeptics. So this is proof that
Yeah, you're right.
this is proof that even your most skeptic friend can change their mind. Thank you for listening. I hope this has reminded you that ghosts and monsters are real, and sometimes the monsters live among us. Mitch McConnell. But anywho, that is the end of the
Old
show.
black
And that hand is
Those are going to fall off.
that's a ghost hand. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to Tutia Bruja. Thank you for supporting the show. Like I said, I'm trying to make an episode happen every day, but technology, man, it happens. Well, check out the website to get in touch with me. It's bexbycaston.com. Check out, I'm on Instagram and Twitter at bexbycaston, and you can follow the podcast at Tutia Bruja. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.